Hello, my name is Dr. Regina James, and I'm the Director of the Office of Health Equity at the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development at the National Institutes of Health. I will be talking about the importance of establishing an office of sponsored programs as it relates to research administration. A brief overview of the topics that I'll be discussing include defining exactly what is a sponsored program and how that relates to the whole picture of an Office of Sponsored Programs, who is the research administrator and what role do they play in the team of academicians, the role of research administrators in marketing the research activities of the institution, proposal development and submission and how the research administrator plays a role in that capacity, as well as managing pre- and post-award activities, compliance, sustainability, and the importance of continuing education. Sponsored programs are basically projects or activities within the institution that's conducted by faculty and staff and supported by external funds that are awarded to the university. An Office of Sponsored Programs is the structure, component, or entity within the institution that basically coordinates these activities. So for example, the Office of Sponsored Programs would be involved in identification of funding sources, assisting with proposal development, assisting with budget development, as well as proposal processing and review. What is the role of the research administrator within this entity? So the research administrator is really a link between the research activities and research outcomes. And as a research administrator, you are a bridge or a link between two important activities. You essentially will lead efforts to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the university in promoting best practices to administer grants. So why are you important to the university? As I mentioned before, there's an important link between research and research activities and research outcomes or health outcomes. And the important piece of this is the sustainability that you bring to the institution. You are part of an academic research team. There are three major players. The principal investigator, they manage and perform the science. The authorized signing official is the individual who signs on behalf of the institution. So when funds come in the institution, it is the authorized signing official who is really the face of the institution when it comes to documentation. As a research administrator, you support the business aspects of grants and you coordinate grant activities. As a research administrator, you really play a key role in marketing research at your institution. You are responsible for identifying faculty's expertise and the institutional facilities that will allow research activities to take place. So, for example, what you may do as a research administrator is prepare and maintain files on faculty and their research interest. You may prepare, maintain, and update descriptions of labs and core research facilities at the institution. You may, in fact, disseminate funding opportunities to the staff at the academic institution. And of course, you would determine the best method at your institution to do this particular job. You enable faculty to focus on relevant opportunities to the extent possible. So you are really a key player in facilitating how efficient the institution is able to learn about and manage research activities. Now, in terms of your role as a research administrator, you are involved in research proposal development. But before we get involved in research proposal development, you must first register your institution. For the National Institutes of Health, the entity that you must register in is grants.gov. And I've outlined for you the basic steps that one would need to take to register your institution in grants.gov. And this is a very important first key step, and this needs to be done actually before your scientists start thinking about submitting a grant proposal, because it can take some time. So you, as the research administrator, will want to have this in place before they begin to actually apply for grants. So the first step is obtaining what's called a Data Universal Numbering System, or a DUNS number. The second is to register with the System for Award Management, also known as SAM, and I have provided for you the web link for SAM. Step 3 is to complete your Authorized Organization Representative profile so that you can create your username and password. And lastly, the eBusiness Point of Contact, or what we call eBiz POC, at your organization must register and log into grants.gov to confirm you as the Authorized Organization Representative. So these are the steps for the National Institutes of Health. Other funding and federal agencies may have different steps. The second step is obtain an ERA Commons account. The ERA Commons account is essentially an online communication between your university and the National Institutes of Health. So the signing official must first register the institution with the ERA Commons, and then they subsequently register the PI, or the principal investigator, by creating an account with the PI authority role. So these are the two steps that you would need to think about before you develop a proposal to submit to the National Institutes of Health. Now, in terms of proposal development, what is your role as a research administrator? As a research administrator, you could do the following: sponsor basic proposal writing workshops for your staff and faculty at the university. You can provide editorial services to the faculty. You can provide proposal templates and remind faculty of the guidelines of submitting the grants. You can coordinate final packaging of the proposal, and you can also consider development of an electronic spreadsheet or budget templates or proposal development software to monitor the budgets. Again, you are the facilitator between the scientific activities and the research outcomes. So you are the individual, you are the business person who really coordinates or links the activities that lead to a sustainable research outcome. You are also involved in proposal review as well as submission. So you could provide a final check of the grant application, looking for accuracy in the budget, things of that nature. You can ensure the proposal complies with the federal regulations, making sure that compliance reviews are completed as necessary. Before you actually receive the grant at the institution, you also play a role. So for example, once you submit a grant to NIH, you may receive what's called a just-in-time submission, or JIT. And basically, NIH is asking you to respond and clarify a few issues, such as compliance information. You may need to submit a revised budget, or other clarifications may be necessary. It's also an opportunity to review the notice of award, as well as receive information about the grant payment management system. Now, let me just stop for a second and remind everyone about the importance of the notice of award. And I can't stress this enough. The notice of award is a legal binding document. It provides information such as award data and fiscal information, grant payment information, and terms and conditions of the award. So, the grantee accepts terms and conditions of the award when he or she draws down the funds. So as soon as you start to utilize the funds provided by the funding agency, you in essence have said, I understand the terms and conditions of the award, and I enter into this legal binding agreement. Now, for institutions, particularly outside of the United States, there is an alternate way of payment for foreign grants. So for all grants to foreign institutions that were issued after October 1st of 2012, payment is made through the Payment Management System, or PMS. For foreign grants, they must register in this payment management system. Now, for foreign grants who were awarded prior to 2013, payments are made to the NIH Office of Financial Management. Another important role that you would play as a research administrator is really orienting your staff to the responsibilities of what does it mean to receive this grant from a funding agency. So what we would recommend is holding an orientation meeting with the principal investigator and the staff to ensure that they understand the scientific and financial responsibilities of the grant that they have received. You are also involved in post-award management. What exactly does that mean? This is administrative and fiscal monitoring requirements such as the annual progress report, also known as the PHS 2590. This is something that the institution must submit in order to let the funding agency know the progress that you are attaining as you receive the monies from the federal institution. It's an update on the progress as well as the activities. You also must submit an annual federal financial report. And again, this is an update on the budget aspect of the grant. And at the end of the grant, you will be responsible for the final closeout report. And that's basically a report, a summary of the activity prior to closing out the grant. Now, with the submission of the progress report, you can submit it through paper, which is the PHS 2590, or you can submit it electronically through the streamlined non-competing award process through the ERA Commons. Now, for the Federal Financial Report, sometimes known as the FFR, this is required each year to the funding agency. The report must be submitted no later than 90 days after the close of the budget period. So, for example, if your budget starts on March 1st, each year the financial report would be due June 1st. It also must be filed electronically through the ERA Commons. Now, in terms of the closeout final reports, these are documents that are submitted electronically, again, through the ERA Commons, and they include documents such as the expenditure data, the invention statement and certification, as well as your final progress report. And the closeout final report is actually due within 90 days of the project period end date. So the research administrator really has oversight responsibility to ensure that the institution is complying with the funding agency regulations, policies, and procedures. So what I would recommend is that you develop a handbook or summary of the funding agency policies and procedures to ensure that your staff understands the requirements of the funding agency. As you know, the NIH policy and procedures are large and they are changing. So it is very important for you as the research administrator to stay up to date on these changes and make sure that your staff also is up to date on these changes as well. Now, as a research administrator, one of the issues that I mentioned in the beginning is your role in sustaining research at the institution. We all know that it's important to have research activities, but we do not want isolated research activities at the institution. We want coordinated research activities, so therefore we can have coordinated outcomes. So sustainability is key in terms of what you would do for the university or academic institution. And one of the ways to maintain sustainability is maximizing external relationships. So what do I mean by maximizing external relationships? That is, although the federal funding agencies, such as the National Institutes of Health, may provide funds to your institution to conduct research, you can also maximize your relationships with other entities, such as industry, such as other institutions, or you can take a multidisciplinary approach to a scientific area so that you and your staff are not the only part of the picture when it comes to addressing a research question. So again, you must maximize those partnerships within the university and outside of the university to make sure that you are receiving the support that you need to conduct the research that needs to be done. You also need to maximize internal relationships. And what do I mean by internal relationships? So you have staff and students who may be involved and excited about research and getting research experience and contributing to research outcomes. How do you keep them engaged and involved? Well, one of the ways that we suggest is building cultural support. And what I mean by cultural support is providing, let's say, for example, awards for research accomplishments for the staff at your institution. You may also provide space on your website to devote to faculty to highlight the accomplishments that they have made in research. So again, you play a key role in sustaining this culture of research by maximizing your external relationships as well as maximizing and capitalizing on the internal relationships. In addition, you can provide information tools to your faculty. So adopting a web-based approach to getting information to faculty about funding opportunity announcements. One of the most common questions that we receive is how do we provide the information to the faculty about these various funding opportunities around the world, around the country. Providing a web-based approach would allow you an efficient way to disseminate information about various funding opportunities to the different staff and faculty at your institution. You can also keep faculty up to speed on proposal processes and techniques. In other words, how to process proposal through institutional sign-offs. So again, providing tools for faculty will definitely allow them an opportunity to remain engaged in research and excited about their contributions. So as a research administrator, you want to make sure you keep up with your tools as well. And continuing education is very important. What do I mean by that? It is important to have certification as a research administrator to have professional recognition. It's an indicator of your expertise. It provides advancement opportunities, as well as it increases your credibility with clients. Now, there is a research administrator's certification exam that is available, and you can receive and take this exam in two basic areas: certified research administrator, as well as certified pre-award research administrator. So you must meet the requirements of the Research Administrators Certifications Council's eligibility requirements to be a professional research or sponsored programs administrator. Additional ways to enhance your fund of knowledge in research administration is basically practicing the profession at your institution, attending professional meetings, joining a listserv so that you can get additional information. In summary, we've covered a wide range of areas in terms of your significance and importance at the institution as a research administrator. So at this point, I hope you understand your role as a research administrator in the institution, that you understand the roles and responsibilities of the Office of Sponsored Programs. We talked about proposal development and submission and review, knowing your team players within the institution. We talked about the authorizing signing official, the principal investigator, and of course you, the research administrator. We also discussed brokering external relations to help maintain sustainability. So those external relationships could be with industry and it could be with other institutions. Building a culture of research among staff. We must remember to maintain high morale and make sure the staff are recognized for their research accomplishments. And finally, establishing and maintaining your continued education as a professional is very, very important. So I hope that you now have a very keen and clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities of a research administrator and why you are a very important key player in sustaining research at your institution. Thank you.